If you are thinking about world building, or you are currently world building, or you have already made a world but would like to look at it with a new light, you are in the right place. Hey everybody, my name is Matthew. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than what I normally do, and I would like to do a world building workshop for all of you. Now, the topic of world building is very grand. I'm not going to talk about why we world build or different people's philosophy on world building. I simply want to try and talk about what I feel are fundamental aspects when it comes to world building. I will draw on different examples that are fairly popular and, of course, a little bit of my own experience with world building as we go through these different topics. Each lesson in this series, I will give you a tool to help you world build. We will go through a few topics covering that lesson's world building. I will propose to you a big question that I want you to answer for your own world building. And then at the end of the lesson, I'm going to go through the very same steps where I make something and show you just how easy it is to make something that is unique and interesting for yourself. I'm going to make a few assumptions. The first is that you want to world build. The second is that you want to improve your world building. The third is that you are probably world building for some sort of role-playing system like D&D. These topics will be useful if you are writing a book or making a movie, but it's definitely going to be more biased towards making a world that other people will see and that your players are going to interact with. There are far too many topics for me to boil this all down into something so small and cover everything. So I will miss plenty, I am sure. Some of it on accident, some of it on purpose. But my goal is under 2 hours through all these lessons to have something that you have made and you can work with, and it will be interesting, and you can flesh it out as much as you'd like to after that. If during any of these lessons you want me to take a deeper dive into anything that I've discussed or would like me to talk about something that I missed, please leave a comment. All right. Enough talking about the intro to all of this and what we're doing here. Let's get started. Grab a writing utensil and a scrap sheet of paper. I'm serious. I'll sit here and wait as you do this. Pause the video if you have to. Go get it. Right now. All right. Now that we have that, we're going to go on to the first tool that we have. Very simply, it is the question, how is this world different than the real world? I start here because this can be a useful question to ask during any part of your world building process. This is like a tiger, except it is venomous. It is planet Earth, except everybody can just teleport wherever they want to on a whim. Keep this answer as short as possible. Dungeons and Dragons. It's just like Earth, except that there's magic and it's medieval and there are dragons and monsters. That's a little bit of a ridiculous example, but you can see that the question of how something is different than what we already know can ground it back to helping other people understand it. During this process, we are going to start off very, very big picture, and we are going to slowly work our way inwards until we get to the very center of everything. Our characters. Like I said, we're starting big, and so here it is. The very first thing you need to do is to set the scope of your setting that you are creating. What is the scale of your setting? An entire world could be a small little town. That's where the entire setting takes place. And so you can really develop and understand that one little town. The setting could be the whole universe, as the characters are jumping planets, going all these different places all the time. But having an idea of this scope, this scale, is going to be useful for you as you are going forward, and it will be very useful for getting the information to everybody in terms of where this story could go or what this story is going to entail. Think of this a little bit like your elevator pitch. You want to tell exactly what the scope of your setting is as quickly as you can. Think of one of the most well-known examples of this. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. That tells you a lot more than you might realize. Because we have stated that our setting is a galaxy, you can already understand and think of the fact that we are going to be going planet to planet on spaceships with hyperdrives that can travel at incredible speeds. There is nothing wrong with having your world be a small little sleepy town of horses and cowboys. But if towards the end of the story, all the characters blast off on a spaceship and then go to a colony on Neptune, you could get a little bit of whiplash if people weren't expecting this scope or this scale. I hope I made myself clear that when I do say world building, I don't actually mean creating a world. It is whatever your setting is. World building could be the spaceship that your characters are on. There are several episodes of Star Trek that simply take place on the ship. No planets or anything. The world building is just the ship that the crew is on. On that scrap sheet of paper you have, I want you to write the scale, the scope of your setting. Is it a planet that the characters are going to be going over? Is it simply a few towns that they will be traveling back and forth between? Is it a spaceship? Write down the scope of your setting. Next topic is very short. I want you to write down the word tone with a question mark. You can put a tone or not. Tone is the general feeling or emotions that you wish to evoke in your story and setting. So, why did I say you don't necessarily have to worry about it? Here's the thing. Planet Earth is the world that we all encompass, and it has the tone of every single style and genre of story imaginable. Drama, comedy, romance, all of it takes place on Earth. The setting doesn't necessarily dictate tone. If you wanted to make some sort of comedy with Warhammer 40K, I'm sure somebody's already done that out there. It doesn't have to be the gritty drama, although that's generally what that story tone migrates towards. So why do I bring this up at all if it doesn't quite matter? Well, as a world builder, you have the luxury that if there is a certain tone that you are going towards, you can use your world building in service of that tone. Alright, if there is a tone that you would like for your story, you can write that down right now. Otherwise, feel free to leave it blank. You have my permission on this one to not answer that question. This next question you absolutely must answer, though. Now I want you to write down our final point for today. Magic. Question mark. Does your setting have magic? Now, before you just immediately write no, if you have any sort of future technology, and are going to explain things in a fashion of, because we have technology that can do these things. If the technology doesn't exist right now, that is magic. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. If you have a setting using future tech, your setting has magic in it. Why do I say that if that can be so different than just waving a magic wand and making spells happen? Because it goes to our next part. If you have magic, do you want to explain the magic, or do you not want to have to explain the magic? It's easier to not explain the magic. That is referred to as a soft magic system. And it is great for building mystery and a sense of wonder in the story. Hard magic is a magic that has rules and guidelines that says this is how it works all the time. A lot of future technology falls into a hard magic system. But every once in a while, that magic doesn't work. Sometimes somebody gets teleported inside out and nobody knows why. Every other time, person gets transported and teleported from that ship to this ship just fine. But now somebody is inside out. That could be a cause for mystery or conflict. I could talk a lot more about magic and magic systems, but I almost don't feel qualified to. Most of these lessons are not going to cover building a magic system. They are going to cover world building and the setting that you have. So now, if there truly isn't any magic in your system, right now, you are done. So here it is, your first big question. What does somebody see when they look up to the night sky? This is an important question to consider when thinking about the scale of your setting. If they look up into the night sky and see the several moons and space stations and ships flying around, that is also important to your setting. And we are getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but what if this setting has a massive city and there is so much light pollution the characters haven't ever got a chance to see the stars? And that's one of their goals, is to see the galaxies beyond their own. Your characters are always going to be curious and preemptively thinking about what that night sky looks like can be important in grounding your setting. Alright, because I don't want this video to take up too much more time, here we are going through the steps for something I'm going to come up with. I think that the world is going to be very similar to Earth in terms of size and scale, where it is in placement to its sun. No magic. None whatsoever. I'm not going to worry about it. In the night sky, they look up, they don't see any moons. They see the stars, they can see the galaxies. There's not too much light pollution, except for the times that you look up in the night sky and it's still daytime. But we'll talk about that more next time. This lessons topic was so grand in scale, we haven't even talked about your world yet, but we will next time. Thank you guys so very much for watching. If you want to make sure you catch when the next lesson comes out, click that subscribe button right down there. That's where it is. It's that way. But until next time, UGM. And if you guys are interested in any tips and tricks for improv in your role-playing games, click right up here.